Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. This session will be in English. Cette session va être en anglais. Puis je vais revenir demain avec un en français. Okay. So anyways, welcome everybody. We have actually 1 week left before we're en route for Ottawa, and to make history actually in regards to our governance and making sure that the citizens of Canada, include with the Indigenous nations, all Canadians included, finally become what we're supposed to be, which is the final decision makers in our governance. We already sort of do it through elections, but we only have one right, and that's to vote in elections or to participate in them. And that is so far from our true rights under political and civil rights. So there's, how can I say, we're going to be explaining to you exactly what we're going to be doing. Some of you don't seem to understand quite why we're doing this. In 1982, we noticed that in 1982, Pierre Elliott Trudeau said that Canada was actually self-determinating and that we were keeping parliamentary democracy. He never asked Canadians what we wanted, because that power belongs to us and also the Indigenous nations. So the UK sort of helped us in 1982 by putting in conditions that were never truly fulfilled by Pierre Elliott Trudeau or every other government after that, because they had 15 years to come to the people and for the people to take their place. Because in 1960, they made it legal that through the United Nations, after World War II, that all of the countries were able to decolonize, and Indigenous nations as well, who had been colonized. So for us, it's more like a self-determination. We, the people together, needed to unite, and we're going to be launching that on July 30th, so that we can take our full legal steps in our rights to collective self-determination and self-governance, and that combined with the Indigenous nations, the decolonization process. And that means that, you know, it's high time that the Indigenous nations and Canadians became equal partners in our Constitution as the final decision makers for this country in regards to our future, our lives, our family, everything, the economy, you name it. We have those rights to participate in everything that we want to participate in. Simply doing little surveys doesn't cut it, like the government does, to try and to say that they have approval from Canadians when that is not true. 1,000 to 2,000 people in a survey does not constitute taking action for Canada and say that, yes, the people have agreed. They have not agreed. So on March 3rd, 2022, what I did is I sent a letter requesting a correction, because it is we the people and the Indigenous nations that need to be recognized in our Constitution as the final decision makers. In Section 9 of the Constitution, they have the Queen, not by name, but the Queen, and then the government as having the prerogative, and the Governor General, but not the people. So that represents us. We are the ones that should be in charge, that should have been in charge actually since 1931, but 1960 kind of clinched it. And then in 1982, the UK was still kind of liable for us, and they still are to this day, because our Constitution still sits in the UK under the Canada Act 1982, which has not been repealed since 1982. So as long as it sits there, the UK is fully responsible for what has happened here in Canada since 1982, because they knew all along what was going on. They didn't forewarn the people, and they were responsible for our decolonization, so that we can choose what type of governance that we wanted to have. And that has never happened. So it's high time that Canadians stand together with the Indigenous nations as equal partners in this country and come together and unite, because that's what's needed, and finally work together. So the whole premise of going to Parliament Hill on July 30th is to get counted. How do you get counted? You sign your Citizens Convention of Consent on our website at the powershift.ca. You'll see all of the information about the weekend in Ottawa. And then you'll be able to watch a video on how to fill out your Citizens Convention of Consent. We've been having people fill this out since 2014, actually, and about document. So doesn't matter how far the dates go back. That does not matter, because all that matters is that you're agreeing to this on that document. And as long as we all agree when we sign this document to bring forth our collective self-determination and self-governance rights and to honor the treaties, we shouldn't have any problems with that, because we are the decision makers, not the government. We do not need to ask the UK permission. We do not need to ask the Canadian government permission. We do not need to ask the Supreme Court permission. By law, we already have those rights. It's already a done deal. It's just that we have to bring that forward now, because our governments never will. So before we lose our country and lose more people to new health issues, we need to move on from that. And the only way that we can stop that is for us to stand in our rightful place as the final decision makers. But I'm going to read you a little document. We've talked about it the other night, and it's really important that you understand why we are going to be on Parliament Hill. And it's no big deal. We're not removing government. Parliament's still going to be there. However, now they're going to have to watch every step they make, because they will have to, on issues that pertains to all of us, and even the provinces will have to step back. Okay, and even with the mayors, they're going to launch how can I say, the Global Parliament of Mayors. They're saying that they're launching their trial run for the mayor of Toronto and the mayor of Ottawa, which should be very interesting, in the provinces giving them more powers. Well, that is unconstitutional, technically. Okay, and there's a lot of bylaws that have been erected throughout cities across Canada that should never even seen the light of day, because they are trampling on our international rights that they cannot derogate from, even in a pandemic or war. And they have done so over and over again. So it was time that we start speaking with the UN and to bring Canada at the forefront of what our governments have been doing. And if they do not understand the law, well, they need to remove themselves from government. Any politicians who doesn't know about our international rights and that they are embedded automatically and entrenched into our constitution, because Canada and the UK both signed on to them in 1976 was our political and civil rights. And both were responsible for our self-determination. And the government was supposed to tell us about it, was supposed to educate everyone on it, and they were also supposed to help us financially to get this done. Now, as you know, they're coming out with Bill C-11, probably in September. Well, that bill should not see the light of day, because by international law, the stipulations and the latest documents that came out back in 2020 was that the government is not allowed to remove our rights on the internet in regards to our rights to peaceful assembly or to meet up, and they can't override our human rights. Neither can any corporation when they try to force you into vaccinations and whatnot. So everything that the government has asked the corporations to do, it was done illegally, unlawfully, against the Canadian citizens. So it's time that we clean up this mess. So we only have 1 week left to be able to meet on Parliament Hill to change the history of Canada forever and place the power in the hands of the people. And now the government will have to do what the people ask them to do. The government will still be in control on some level, but when it pertains to our rights and everything else, they will have to come to us through referendums and not make any more decisions regarding international deals or the removal, any more sales or control of our natural resources and our lands in this country. Everything needs to stop in its track because the people will rise. We are rising. We have a lot of signatures, enough to launch a constitutional challenge in the courts, but we don't even need to go that far. The UK simply has to bring in a motion in Parliament in the UK and to for them to go ahead and correct our constitution, placing the people in power, as well with executive powers along with that, because as long as the government has executive power, they can override us. So we need to make sure that no government ever can steal our children's rights away, as they have done so with us and our parents since 1931. So it's time to clean up, people. July 30th, hopefully we'll see you on Parliament Hill. This is not a protest. This is the first time in history, it's a celebration of the first time in history that the Indigenous nations and Canadians come together as equal partners. And even if the Indigenous nations weren't there, Canadians could still go ahead, we can still go ahead, because we are the ones responsible for our government. Our government owes fiduciary duty to the Indigenous nations. So there's a difference in that. And that's why as well, we've been working, and we have a lawyer in the UK that's going to be beginning as soon as he's up to date on everything that we have, as well as we have a lawyer here, but the Indigenous nations will also have their teams of lawyers, and that's what we've been working on. So together we should be able to get this done, because only together can it happen. So hopefully enough people will not fear coming to the Parliament, because we've been running around all week because of this restriction. They tell us yes for this, and then they call us back and say, oh no, now you can't do that. And the thing is that yes, we need to be peaceful. Yes, we need to respect the Hill. Yes, we need to respect the people in Ottawa, but at the same time, the people of Ottawa need to be on the Hill with us. It is their city. It is the city of all Indigenous nations, as well as Canadian citizens. We all own Ottawa. Everybody is a shareholder, co-owner of the Crown of Canada and Canada itself. And that we own what Canadians own, and then the Indigenous nations own what they own. But a lot of things have happened over the years. Even, UNESCO owns most of all of the forests that belong to the nations. So this is, again, something we're going to have to look into. But one step at a time. And the first step is signing that Citizens Convention of Consent, and then joining us on Parliament Hill so that we can announce to the world what we are doing. It's all legal. There's nothing wrong with what we are doing. It is a right that we already have. It is already a given that we are the political power in this country, not the government. We only give them that power during voting. And if you were to look at everybody across Canada, the people who don't vote because they've lost faith in the government, they do not believe in it, they do not believe in the political parties. And the political parties, when you look at Stephen Harper, when you look at Justin Trudeau, okay, it is the Liberal Party that is the government. Justin Trudeau might be the prime minister, but he doesn't make the decisions. Is the political party, then the money behind the political parties. It is also the Queen's Privy Council. And those are all the past premiers and whatnot that still remain there to make some of the decisions for Canada. So when corporations are trying to take over our country, it's time that we, the people, stand up in our lawful rights and really save this country and make sure that we do not run out of food, as we've seen coming. No children in Canada deserve to go hungry. Nobody needs to be without water. Nobody needs to be without a home. When you say that the street people, they are they all are equal shareholders with us here in Canada. We all have one vote share in our corporation. There's no need for anybody to go hungry or to be homeless. If we would have known about this a long time ago, this country would be different today. everybody would have had a chance to prosper. Everybody would know each other a lot more, and everybody would be invested in making sure that this country works for everyone, and that instead of taxation, we could be getting dividends. As long as we remain the way we are now, we are slaves to corporations as employees, and now they are trying to treat the employees lower and remove our personal rights, our human rights, and allow the corporations to override that. So it's time to end it. So here we are at almost the last hour to save our country and to stop the World Economic Forum from taking over. So, you know, there are some good things, there are some bad things, but really when you look at everything, we need to start growing up. We need to be grown up. We need to take things seriously. Every day that you live through, every minute, while you're sleeping, politics are happening. When you pay a certain price one day for a loaf of bread and you pay another price the next day, or it's, you know, $1 more somewhere else, that's politics. And you need to be interested in politics because you are one of the shareholders, co-owners of the biggest corporation in this country. And then all other corporations are controlled under that. So if you want to have your say in Canada, please join us on Parliament Hill on July 30th. And we're going to be there till August 1st. So we have the Parliament Hill for 3 days. And we don't want anything derogatory or anything. This is more of a celebration of being united for the first time in history with the Indigenous nations in finally making official our rights to self-determination and self-governance together as partners. So I'm going to move on to this. I'm going to do a screen share and go to our website. And I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Why are we going to be on Parliament Hill? So we need your help to do this. This is huge, people. Although we have one lawyer officially in the UK, we've got about 10 or 12 that we can get as well to help, because we don't need just one lawyer. We need many, many, many lawyers. And this is going to take some time because they're going to try and fight us on that. Because even in the UK, if once they do the correctional, even though they helped us by doing this correction, it also allows the people in the UK you know, carte blanche to doing exactly what we're doing, because they've got the same rights, and every other country can follow suit. The peoples everywhere can do the same as what we're doing. But with us, because of that constitutional correction that is needed, we're not asking for an amendment. We're asking for a constitutional correction that could be done within a matter of days, if not hours, if they wanted to. And then our country would be ours, and we would be in charge of our government. And our government would have to make sure that it treats us properly, as well as the Indigenous nations. So I'm going to do a screen share here. And that is our website. So when you come to our website, I'm just going to move myself here out of the picture. Okay. So when you come to our website, you can donate, and when you donate, you get a free ebook that talks about this. That will help you a lot in understanding what we're doing. So if you look at here, you'll find some more documents to read. The request to the UK for constitutional change, that's in there, and then you'll start learning about your rights and everything that we have. But mostly our major rights are at the international level, and when it comes to Bill C-11, we've got enough information to work on that to make sure that the Senate trashes it. And then we have also enough information in regards to our rights and our rights of non-derogation, so that lockdowns can never happen again. Okay, so if we get together, we can make sure that our economy doesn't go down, and that our government will work for us. And that's the bottom line here. So even now, what they're doing with the mayors are going to have to back off. What they're doing with Bill C-11 and then any other bills will be able to remove. if it doesn't serve the purpose of the public. So, we need to take it one step at a time. So government is still going to be there. However, we're going to have to look into things and really start cleaning house in regards to redundant laws and stuff like that. You're going to need to want to be involved. Okay, it's your life, your future, and the future of your children. And freedom isn't free. It takes somebody who's very vigilant all the time, and that you learn and make sure that our kids learn everything. So as you can see, there's noises. But anyway, we're on the right track. It's time that the people wake up, and we need to do this right now, July 30th. We've already said to the UK in our letter that we were going to proceed, still getting people to sign the Citizens Convention of Consent. All of this is legal. There's nothing the government can do. Okay, so there's no fear. Come to Parliament Hill. We're making sure that the police and the RCMP and the government and the mayor of Ottawa and the councillors know their rights, but they're going to really know our rights. So again, we're going to have some special guests. Watch, if you can't make it to Ottawa, we'll be live streaming the event, and you'll be able to see a lot of things. So here, if you go to resource hubs, you'll see Parliament of Ottawa rules. So if you come, please go to this page here. It says PowerShift to Freedom, Rules of Conduct on Parliament Hill, and knowing our legal, political, and civil rights to peaceful freedom of assembly protected by international law during pandemics or war, to be upheld by all Canadian levels of governance, federal, provincial, and international policing and security agencies. And this is where the judges here in Canada need to absolutely look at international law. And when it comes to international law, even the WHO, the World Health Organization, is not allowed. The Public Health of Canada and Public Health Ontario and all of them are supposed to also make sure that they do not derogate from our rights. The World Health, in a pandemic or not, cannot override our international human rights or our political and civil rights. Okay, so very important that everybody knows this information. So I'm not going to read that, but here you'll see, I talk about all this again, but you'll be able to read some of the information. And here you'll have all of the files. Okay, and this one here, public health, nor the World Health Organization, WHO, can override our universal human rights. So if they're trying to force you into something, and you don't want to, you say no. If you want to, go right ahead. It's your choice, your body, your choice. Okay. So how do you define a lawful peaceful protest? The UN Human Rights Committee has a clear answer. Okay, so they had to go back on, and this was the answer they came out with on the 29th of July, 2020. So you'll be able to read about all of that here. Okay. And then we have Clément Vaux, Mr. Clément Vaux, who is the new special rapporteur on freedom of peaceful assembly and association. So usually it's only in regards to decolonization and self-determination, but now they created, because too many rights are being violated, they've created another sector for how can I say, political and civil rights. Okay, so there's a rapporteur now for that. So here you'll be able to see, if you need to find the city hall, this is their address, and then the city police. And here the Ottawa City Police regulations. I put down FYI, the city police regulations need to comply with the UN non-derogation of political and civil rights, as they are not in conformity. Presently, there are laws and bylaws that are unconstitutional and limit our rights. Doing so is unlawful and should never be done without first verifying with our non-derogation of our international protections, as these need to be primarily taken into consideration. These protections must not be ignored by police, lawyers, and justices, and all political actors such as mayors, premiers, parliamentarians, senators, MPs, and MPPs, and most assuredly, the Prime Minister. If they don't know the law, they need to get out of politics. And that includes David Lametti. They need to start bringing about our international rights, because we as a collective have the right to self-determination as many times as we want, and they can't stop us. Okay, so now you'll have the Ottawa City Police regulations below as per their website. So with what we've seen happening, even in the convoy with bylaws and whatnot, they were unconstitutional. Cities are actually unconstitutional because really they're not supposed to have their own rights, but now they're giving powers to mayors that they should not have the right to have. So the councillors are going to have to get up and do something about that real quick and stop that motion right now. And then hopefully by July 30th, we'll be able to slow things down and really start cleaning up the laws. And that's what our government's going to have to do. And the city and everybody else, they're going to have to look at everything. So here you have all of our rights and the role of police and what they're saying it is. Okay, so we have to come together with between the people and the city police and the RCMP the feds, and honor the fact that all of us are all equal shareholders of the Crown of Canada, as well as the military. Every personnel that works for the government is also an official shareholder, co-owner of the Crown of Canada. So their status supersedes all of their employee statuses. Okay, so if an RCMP officer wants to sign a convention of consent, he has the legal right to do so, even if the government says no, they have to be impartial. No, the corporations' rights and employee rights, or the rights that they have over their employees, do not supersede our collective rights as the co-owners of this country and really the final decision makers. So if you go here, you'll go to the blog and you'll be able to learn about exactly why we're going to be on Parliament Hill. And it's here, it's self-determination and decolonization examples. For the nations, it's more of a decolonization. For us as well, because we still kept an imperial style government. So they can't call it a modern government when the people were robbed of our collective rights, and also when we've been abused, as well as the Indigenous nations are really abused since the beginning. So we can fix this. So collective self-determination, what does that do? That means true freedom. Okay. The reason it's true freedom is because when you think you're free, Canadians were never free. Okay, we never got our freedom. Why? Because as long as you have a government that can overrule the people, that's not freedom. The freedom means the people rule and the people have the final say. That's freedom. So here, this is a picture that I took from the convoy that I purchased to be able to put it online. And it says here, mandate freedom now. Well, the mandates don't stop the corporations from the public-private partnerships in Canada and the corporations from ruling over us. And we did hire private corporations. Nobody voted for private corporations to take over our governance. We vote, the people voted in. I haven't voted since 2008, and I never will again for political parties. However, what we're going to have to do is still bring in independence. But right now, if we were to look at everything that's happened, they always made sure that they worked against us, not for us. So what does decolonization mean for Canada? Decolonization requires non-Indigenous Canadians to recognize and accept the reality of Canada's colonial history. We're still technically in a colonial system now, because we never got the right to choose our own system of governance. Now, accept how that history paralyzed Indigenous peoples and how it continues to subjugate Indigenous peoples. What is decolonization for Indigenous peoples? The process of decolonization is a process of healing and moving away from a place of anger, loss, and grief towards a place where Indigenous peoples can thrive. This can be overwhelming and seemingly impossible for some. What is self-determination for colonies? In international law, the right of self-determination that became recognized in the 1960s was interpreted as the right of all colonial territories to become independent or to adopt any other status they freely choose. We never received that chance. What is self-determination and decolonization? What gave these peoples self-determination rights was the fact that colonial states failed to achieve minimally just rule. The democratic view, decolonization was normally required because subject peoples lacked democratic representation. What are the 4 types of decolonization? There are broadly 4 types of decolonization. Self-government for white settler colonies, as it happened in Canada and Australia. But self-governance doesn't mean complete independence. Self-government just means that the prisoners can govern themselves in the prison yard. Okay, that's what that means, in a sense. So 2, formal end to empire followed by independent rules in India, as in India. Formal empire replaced by informal empire or neo-colonialism, and that's what we have, as in Latin America. And then a mere change of imperial masters. And this is what Canada has. All we had in 1931, well, actually 1867, and then 1931, and then 1982 was only a mere change of imperial masters. Okay. So according to Trudeau's own lawyer, up to 1982, if the Constitution would be legal and done properly, we were still technically a colony up to 1982. So technically, we're still a colony now because our Constitution still sits in the UK, and the UK technically has parliamentary sovereignty over our Constitution and over the Canadian government. And that's why the Canadian government can only say that they were keeping parliamentary democracy and not parliamentary sovereignty, because they can't until we, the people, have spoken. And on July 30th, we need to speak up and take our rights fully in our Constitution as equal partners with the Indigenous nations and full powers over our governance, and that includes our government. So what is self-determination? Self-determination is believing you can control your own destiny. Self-determination is a combination of attitudes and abilities that lead people to set goals for themselves and to take the initiative to reach those goals. So, and that, again, we can do that collectively. So what is self-determination in history? During World War I, US President Woodrow Wilson promoted the concept of self-determination, meaning that a nation, a group of people with similar political ambitions, can seek to create its own independent government or state. What is self-determination for a country? Self-determination denotes the legal right of people to decide their own destiny in the international order. And this is what we are doing, okay? On July 30th, we've already done it on March 3rd through our letter. However, we need to formalize it here in Canada with other people. And even if we were just 100 people, it doesn't matter. It begins because we have all those other signatures. Okay, so no matter what happens in Ottawa, that's the D-Day, okay, of our launch to freedom and our launch to being truly in power, and for this government to be a government of the people, for the people, by the people. Otherwise, it's just a scam. Why is self-determination important for countries? In particular, oh, I didn't even finish reading this, sorry. Self-determination is a core principle. I'll restart. What is self-determination for a country? Self-determination denotes the legal right of people to decide their own destiny in the international order. Self-determination is a core principle of international law, arising from customary international law, but also recognized as a general principle of law and enshrined in a number of international treaties. And as well, once it's enshrined in these treaties, the Statutes of Rome and all of this, the Canadian government has, and the courts, the Supreme Court could no longer do dirty deeds. They have to follow the law. And that means that here we are in charge. Okay. So why is self-determination important for countries? In particular, the principle allows the people to choose its own political status and to determine its own form of economic, cultural, and social development. Exercise of this right can result in a variety of different outcomes, ranging from political independence to the full integration within a state. So now what happens is when you have Indigenous nations in a patchwork puzzle piece like we have across Canada and even Australia and New Zealand, with our countries, they cannot become a country within a country. So they have to be united with us. And this is one of the main reasons why the governments have worked so hard to not let us learn about the two-row wampum treaty, where we, and the friendship treaty, where we're supposed to be side by side and working together and not interfering in each other. You know, people need to realize that, because our government sure has not done its job. So how can we respect Indigenous nations if we don't know how we were supposed to treat them and what are their rights? So hopefully now, as equal partners, this will change, because the only way to correct the wrongs and to really bring reconciliation about is to become equal partners in Canada and nothing less. So what are the characteristics of decolonization? Decolonization is about cultural, psychological, did I read this one? Yeah. Okay, exercise this right can result in the environment. Yeah, I did. Now, what are the characteristics of decolonization? Decolonization is about cultural, psychological, and economic freedom for Indigenous people, with a goal of achieving Indigenous sovereignty, the right and ability of Indigenous people to practice self-determination over their land, cultures, and political and economic systems. So the government was trying to, even with UNDRIP, bring that about in a sense. And the only reason why they agreed to UNDRIP this late, and they should have done that since 1960. They didn't need to be forced, for the UN to come up with UNDRIP, and then at the same time make it unbinding. So the Canadian government, pretty much when when we look at UNDRIP, we have to make sure that everything that was supposed to be in there is in there, and not just the way that the Canadian government for them to only adopt what they want, and not really fully protect the Indigenous nations, because that's our job to make sure that the government does its job. Okay. So what is an example? Here, when they, I'm just going to go back here, achieving Indigenous sovereignty. The Indigenous peoples have land sovereignty, okay? But when they're stuck to reserves or their treaties are not negotiated well, again, that onus is on us. So we need to pick up the slack, okay? And this is how we do it. So what is an example of self-determination? And this is just to make you think a little bit. Although people often say it, self-determination is really not about control. It is about taking action in your life to get the things you want and need. For example, if someone says, if you do this, I'll give you a soda. Even if you decide to do it, you are not the person who took the action in the first place. So again, they're giving you a choice to do what they want you to do. So really, it's not your choice. Okay, it's like if you want to keep your job, you need to be vaccinated. If you want to buy groceries, you need to wear a mask. You need to social distance. Okay, that is not freedom. So those are just examples that we can give you. We are not about terminating the mandates. The CPU, the Canadian People's Union, the PowerShift was never about that. Because first of all, once we are about getting our rights, and once we get our rights, okay, once we have our rights, it's getting kind of dark, then they go away, because then we can really take other experts, not bought and paid for experts, not having Doug Ford, there's the light, not having Doug Ford get rich for forcing people to wear masks, for a whole bunch of people who made money on this. Everything in ethics, these people need to be brought under ethics. rules because they've broken too many of them. So you want to stop this? You want to turn taxation into dividends? You want to save this country? You want to protect your children so that they are free, truly free, that they finally understand what that means? Get together. If you can't come to Ottawa, get together in your city, get your neighbors, get everybody, do a block party and celebrate, you know, making the first step in history on July 30th for self-determination of our country in Canada, because it is historical, and that we're taking the initiative. If the UK isn't fast enough, we're going to get it done another way. There's two ways of doing this, but arriving at the same conclusion, because we do have those rights and they cannot take them away from us unless we allow them. And I'll be damned if I'm going to allow them to take away the rights of Canadians and Indigenous peoples. There have been too many victims, and it's time that we end this. Okay? That we end this on the right note, and that whatever they've planned for us, Agenda 2030, they can forget it. If they want to really prove that Agenda 2030 is really good, well, they'll have to convince all of us first and tell us everything that's behind that. So until we know the real story, what the government is doing behind closed doors, we'll wait for a referendum, and they'll have to wait for a referendum too. Okay, so join us on Parliament Hill. I'm going to leave you with that. I can't explain it any easier than that. What we're doing is not that complicated. It's just about placing us above the crown of the crown, which is the Parliament and everybody else, and putting, oh my gosh, what's this? Okay, and putting up the real people in power, we people and the Indigenous nations. So please go to the powershift.ca. You will be able, I'm going to post all in how can I say, in Ottawa, we're going to be bringing the wampum tour wampum belt and the silver covenant chain friendship belt, and we had them put in frames, glass frames, and with engraved for commemorating the date of July 30th in Ottawa, as this is historical. So if you want to purchase tickets, please go on our page and on our website, and you'll be able to find the links to purchase the tickets. And for, you know, as long as if you can support the PowerShift and what we're doing, and so that we can raise money for more lawyers and a lot of court cases that we need to initiate ASAP. Please help us out. We need your help. We can't do this alone. And freedom isn't cheap. So now everybody has to get involved. It's up to every single Canadian, if they want their freedom, to take part and to help us financially to get this done, because we're not going to be able to do it. Without funds, we can't do this. Okay. So again, you can donate on our website. Your donations are confidential. So and then you don't have to worry about what happened before. And second of all, the tickets, if you give a donation of $20, you'll have a chance. We're going to give you 4 tickets for every $5 amount. You'll have that extra chance to win. So please donate, and we'll send you some tickets so that you have a chance to win one of the two wampum belts that will commemorate this event. Okay, so thank you very much. Again, get everybody you know to sign their convention of consent. That's how you first get counted, and then we'll see you either in your city, because we'll be live streaming all the events across Canada, and or in Ottawa. Thank you. Bye-bye.